4 p.m. And I want to ask before the September 21st, I want to ask if anybody is recording the meeting. I know the city is going to be recording the meeting. Is there anybody in the general public or on the team that's recording? Okay.
Hi, Dave.
Hi, Mayor.
I didn't have an option to record when I'm on. I think if you might have, let me just check. Well, I can't say that the city is recording this one right now, because you have to click a button on it, and I don't see it anywhere.
Hold on a sec. Let me see if I can do it on my iPad.
There are two other City of Greenfield icons up that are host and co-host. I don't know who those are, but whoever's the host should have control over that.
Yeah, there's City of Greenfield that's the host.
That is.
It could be Bill across the hall and ask him. I think I came on as the co-host, so let me just check.
Can we tape the meeting?
That's what we're talking about, record. Oh, who are you talking to?
Your office will take care of it, Mayor.
Okay,
So it will be recorded here shortly.
Okay.
but I needed my exercise. Chief.
You want to do a couple laps in the meantime?
Yeah,
All right.
in that corner.
Great. All right. So we'll start. I want to do a roll call so we could start. Chief Strahan.
Here.
Herb Forgy.
Here.
Gene Wall.
Here.
Peter MacGyver.
I'm here.
Jennifer, you're on. I see you. Jennifer.
Here.
Great. And Carol, you're on representing. Carol Collins, are you on representing the city?
Yes.
Okay, great. And Mayor Roxanne Gardner's on. And Neil Joyce, you're on?
Yes.
Okay, great. I don't think I've missed anybody.
I must have an older list. I have Steve and David Singer. Were they not part of this?
Steve, they're not on the
No.
committee.
Okay,
Not on this one. They were on the temporary site. I don't know.
got it.
You're wrong. We had to shorten the number of people on the committee, if you'll recall, at the last meeting, I think, so that we could get a real quorum. Because we couldn't have an even number, I guess. Somebody had to bow out.
Even though we decided our voting is recommending to the main
Yeah.
committee.
Yeah.
We're not
Butch was going to try to get on the meeting, but he said if he was able to, it would be a little bit on the later side anyway.
okay. That's great. All right. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
I would be happy to
everybody
make
get
a
the minutes?
motion to approve those outstanding minutes that were
Yes,
done.
outstanding, Jennifer. Outstanding.
I think you
I'll
have,
second it.
yeah, you have some competition, Peter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right. Is there any discussion?
No, I'll do my best for the full meeting to meet the same standard.
Jennifer, you're keeping everybody at a high standard.
I really felt like I was just trying to work up to Peter's standard. Thank you.
Is there any discussion or corrections anybody wants to talk about? Okay. Sorry, I wanted to look at my notes for a second to see if I had any. All right, can we take a vote on approving the minutes? Just raise our hands and say approved.
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 Approved. I seem to have a camera malfunction, but I'm
Yeah.
approving.
Raising hand, you need voice vote.
Yeah, voice votes.
Yeah.
I don't think we have to take a roll call for the minutes.
No,
If everybody could say approved at the same time. Approved.
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 Okay, great. Minutes are approved. All right, great. All right, I sent out an agenda. I think everybody received it, I hope.
Can I just bring up an issue real quick?
Yes.
I see
Carol.
an email from Ed Berlin. He says he's the host. He doesn't know
Okay.
how that happened and is wondering how to change that. So I know in terms of recording that might be an issue.
I can't answer that question because I don't
Yeah.
know. I'm not too sure how that happens.
I don't either. I don't really know
I'm
either.
replying to his chat now.
Thing.
Maybe we could ask those
It
technical
really
questions.
doesn't matter particularly because I don't think we're sharing a screen or anything today, so.
No, but maybe he can record the meeting and then it can be shared or something.
So
I think
I had already-
the mayor's office is recording it, so we don't need
It
to worry
says,
about that.
Oh, okay.
I have
okay.
a little icon that says meeting is being recorded.
Okay.
All right, so I think we can start going through the agenda. There's a lot to cover. I did want to just, the first item that I had was to talk about the steps to secure the Hope Street temporary lot, because I think there's a lot of steps that the city has to go through, and the building committee and the temp committee needs to go through to make sure that location is ready. Neil had put together a slideshow. He promised me it would take 10 minutes. But I think that will give us all a sense of some of the things that we need to think about to secure that site. So I wanted to ask Neil if he could run through that. And sorry, Neil, go ahead.
I was going to say, I certainly. So I'm not sure that if I share my screen, it will work, but I will do my best.
You need to get a brand new Mac computer. It's your old computer. No, I don't know. You want to try? If not, we could talk through it.
We can see.
So I've tried to share it.
Yeah, maybe it's not working.
Neil, do you want to send it? Can you email it fast to one of us and we can try to share it while you walk through it? Would that help?
I don't think I could. I don't think I
Nothing.
can share it on my.
Neil, can you email it?
I can email a PDF to it.
Yeah, can you email it to respond back to the email that the group was on? Because I'd like everybody to have a copy anyway. And it looks like he's freezing up.
Here it is.
That's what I'm trying to do now, Mayor.
Okay,
Trying to find an email that I got from everyone that has the links on it. There we go.
Yeah, send it to the one that I sent the agenda on.
So I just sent it out. You guys should have it momentarily.
Well, we're
Okay.
waiting for that.
I can also now allow you to share content, looks like. Well, I'm not sure, come to think of it.
Jen,
Still
can you
sending. Hold on.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, I think it's important that we start thinking about what it's going to take. I think there's a lot of things that probably we don't know, and that we all need to be educated on, and also we can all educate each other in the city on what it's going to take to get that site prepped and ready. So I think Neil's presentation again will get us our thinking caps flowing on what it's actually going to take to secure the site and move forward.
Can everybody see that?
Yes.
Yeah. Now we
Okay.
can.
That's from me, so I can control the PowerPoint as
Yep.
long as Neil can see it.
And we can tell them what page we're on too if we have to. Neil, can you see the screen, or is it just, are you just doing audio?
Earth to Neil.
Is he still on? He
We
looks like-
good?
Yeah.
He looks like
Okay.
he's just spinning away. There he is. Neil, can you see the screen, or are you just an audio?
I am just, you guys,
Okay, how about this? I'll read the title of the screen and Neil just go along with it on your side.
Yeah, I think, I don't know, something's going on with his connection, so we could start walking through it, I think. Maybe he has to jump off and then come back on.
Well, why don't you,
Dennis, is this something that you can help with this? We scroll through?
Sure.
Okay, let's do that. Dave, you mind if we do that? We'll start.
No,
right
I think
at
that's a good idea until Neil can get back on. It's fine. There's gonna be a lot of discussion about it anyway, so let's get started.
Take it over, Dennis.
Okay, title slide. We are still working with on this slide too, we're still working with a company to determine whether or not we can do a single base structure as opposed to two separate ones. We don't have that answer yet. So that's still a work in progress.
So this was the original drawing that we saw last week, where it had the two bays and it had the one single building. So I think everybody has seen this slide before.
When you say the one single building, what you're referring to
No, I mean-
really is two rental trailers.
Yes, two rental trailers, yes.
Yes, okay, yep.
And these are not the full conceptual drawings, just so everybody understands that.
Correct. We have not changed Neil's original schedule. We've left that the same. The only thing we did do was ask on the permanent building, we need 2 months up front for schematic as opposed to 1.
Move on, Dennis.
Yep.
Okay.
All right, so this is what we've asked DPW to help us with, is get some more information on the actual slopes we're dealing with and dimensions, so that we can see how those temporary structures can actually work, and can they, be again, one or two, and how can we really set them on these parking levels? So I think you reached out, Chief, didn't you? Or did Neil reach out? Somebody reached out to DPW to help us get some information.
I heard, Marlo reports in on many things regularly, and he did say they were fast and furiously gathering whatever information was asked of them.
Good, good.
I don't know, I don't know what the holdup in getting it to someone is, but I haven't seen it. I don't know if you have, Chief Stern, and Neil. I don't know if Neil's on or not, but okay.
All right, so I want to believe they'll have it to us this week.
Dennis, I don't hear me. I spoke with Marlo.
Whoa.
Oh, we had you, and then we lost you. Neil.
Yeah, he's having feed problems.
Do we have a list of the questions that were asked?
Yeah,
to the DPW?
essentially you are looking at the questions that were asked. So we're asking for slope information and,
Yes.
and width and length.
I seem to be having some network issues.
Yeah. Well, hang in there with us.
So, yes, those were the questions that we had asked them if they could help clarify.
Okay, so we haven't received that information back then.
That's
Other
correct.
than maybe Neil knows, but right now we're not sure if we've received the information back.
Correct.
Okay,
We are expected to receive that information in the beginning of this week.
okay. So possibly by next meeting, we'll have.
Terrible connection.
All right, we can move on.
All
I
right.
think
So,
Neil's banging. Neil's banging.
Hold on.
all right. So in terms of the next steps, I mean, we're not changing the next steps. Obviously, once we know a little bit more about the site, we will actually hone in on those concept layouts and design drawings a little bit more. Something a little more definitive than just, 3 colorful boxes. The other thing we have to do is we still have to meet virtually with the chief and go through a temporary program so that we know we're getting all the right things in there and that how big those trailers need to be and what other spaces need to be in those temporary tents. So chief, look forward to that. We'll probably do that next week.
Understood.
Thank you. And Neil, I don't know if you can hear us, but certainly would like you on that with us if you're available. So we'll send out some dates and make sure everybody's there.
Sounds good, Dennis.
Okay, good. So we can't hear you.
Dennis, would you mind going back up to that slide again? I just wanted to make sure everybody got a chance to see. Okay. Yeah, the procurement decisions are important. Lease versus purchase. And then the RFQ bid process, which is lengthy. It's a month long or better by a week or two process. That's all.
Thank you, Mayor.
Yeah.
Conceptual layout, this was just, not even sure what this one was. I think this was just trying to get an idea of what on the right-hand side of what one of those bays might look like. So you can see they're all, one of them is a drive-through, the bay on the bottom, 2 bathroom bays, and some support space, if you will, behind them. And for the second tent, or if there is a single tent, there may be some additional support space required in there. That's where the design will go, is to solidify what really needs to be based on the program.
Dennis, that's the layout of the Lexington temporary fire station.
Oh, is that what we did? That's one? All right, because that would look fairly similar to the one we do here.
The only caveat that I'd like the subcommittee to know is that if we went to a single bay or a single structure for the apparatus bay, it would have to be in the middle parking lot, not the lower parking lot. The lower parking lot does not have enough of a turn radius for us to get the tower out and to get onto Hope Street in motion.
The
So-
single structure actually spans the 2 parking lots, and that's why we need the slope information. We're working with one of the manufacturers of these temporary structures to try to see if that's a possible cost savings for the city.
Okay.
Neil, can you hear us now?
Yeah, it seems like I have a better internet connection in a different room in my house. So here I am.
Did you get any information back from the DPW yet, or did you talk about a timeline with them on when you might be seeing that information?
The conversation that I had with Marlo and Alan Twarog, they were planning to get out, do the survey information the early part of this week. And I think they had a good understanding of the urgency that we were asking for the turnaround. They were very responsive to my initial emails, and I expect they'll move along as quickly as they can.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Good to hear.
We just move on.
Yep, one more. So Neil was good enough to take some pictures of what we did at Lexington. This is just a temporary structure. There are, several companies that do these. They're all fairly similar. But what you can see on the right-hand side is just a very simple, unheated, covered walkway that leads back to the Liberty Mutual building, which we used for the admin and living portions of the building. And then in the parking lot is where we erected this temporary tent.
Okay.
So it just gives you an idea of, what to expect. Excellent, Chief. And again, some more pictures that Neil was good enough to take. The inside, and you can see they've got a lot of stuff in there. And then a little additional piece on the back just to hold some additional storage space. The turnout gear that's inside. So we did have to build, some walls and a lower ceiling. You can see a heating unit on the top back left so that they store their gear, it can dry out, and they have a place for it. And again, additional pictures. You see in the middle is the breathing air apparatus for filling the air bottles, workroom over on the right, and some additional equipment on the left. And finally, actual apparatus. So if you look at the back of this photo, you can see the wall where they've got some equipment hanging off the wall, but you can see we created a smaller set of spaces in the rear. And then the HVAC equipment is on top of that.
And it's the small spaces in the rear were for the maintenance bay, the self-contained breathing apparatus equipment, and the turnout gear storage.
Okay. Some additional pictures. So you can see that the amount of storage, they've got the walls lined up with hose and other equipment and things. So it's just a matter of, the chief and his crew deciding just how much stuff they need in there, letting us know, and then we'll get some idea of how big we need to make this thing. One thing I will say is when we did this particular one in Lexington, we did not bid it with insulation, which was a terrible mistake on our part. We fixed that. We found a way to hang some insulation in it. The ones that we are looking at now come with the heaters, with the insulation, the overhead doors, the man doors. So, they come with all that. And at least that's how we would bid it. And again, just, additional pictures.
Dennis, do you know if auxiliary storage like this is cheaper for a tent structure or to bring in like a Connex trailer type of thing?
I don't have an answer to that, to be honest with you, but what we can do is, as Adam is talking to these folks, we can certainly look into it and, get those numbers.
And is, we need 4 or 5 bays, correct?
Correct.
Yeah. Looks like Lexington only had 3.
They had 3, but one of them was double deep, if you will.
Double deep.
I believe they were able to put 1 or 2 pieces of equipment elsewhere.
Okay.
Yeah, we have 6, 8, 11 main pieces of equipment that are going to have to fit in this building, plus smaller equipment.
Chief, when you mean you mean rolling equipment, trucks, right?
Large vehicles.
11?
Yeah, with 2 ambulances, 2 fire engines, a rescue truck, a tower truck. We have a hazmat truck, which could be, if in a pinch, removed and placed someplace else. I'd rather not if we can, but so yes. And then we have several smaller pieces of equipment that would have to be housed in a heated stall, including a brush truck and a boat.
Okay.
Okay?
Yes. Good to know.
Dennis, we're on Bellrica.
Yeah, Neil, I'm gonna have to let you talk about this.
Yep. Sure. So this is just an example of a smaller temporary structure that the town of Billerica used. And it has a single bay vehicle storage on to the right of the picture. And in the rear was a simple double wide trailer that they pulled in behind for living quarters. That, again, that was a substation that is not intended to be directly related or compensatory to Greenfield. It's just to give an idea of what we may do for living quarters going forward. And the last couple of slides were just examples of other temporary stations that have been done. This particular one was 4 bays wide. Next slide, Chief.
Yeah.
The photo on the left is what the interior of a very simplistic structure would be. And the photo on the right is to demonstrate that these structures can be installed on sloping surfaces as long as the difference between heights is not significant. And then the last slide was really simply a statement of the goals and objectives. And that's to provide a fully functional station at the lowest possible cost. Keeping in mind our mindset is that every dollar spent is one less dollar we need or have for the permanent facility. And the photograph shows a very simple road cone with a mop handle out of it, and the umbilical for air and electricity at the truck is simply stuck in the cone and keeps the umbilicals out of the way. But I thought it was a great example of Yankee firefighter ingenuity to solve a problem inexpensively.
Yeah. And it worked, right?
No
Oh, yeah.
instances
I
so
have to
far. Sorry for the technological glitches, people.
No worries. Thank you for that, putting that together, Neil. Appreciate it. Does anybody on the committee have anything they want to discuss with respect to the slides that they just saw, or any concerns, questions?
I do, David. Roxanne.
Go ahead, Mayor.
I just wanted to say I have not received my slides yet, so I don't know if you ended up emailing them out, Neil, or not. But we should get a copy of them.
Yes, I can send it. Neil sent it to me about a few minutes before the meeting, so I can definitely
Okay.
send them out to everybody. Or
Okay.
Neil, did you send them out to everybody when you sent them out just now?
I got my copy.
Well, I'll check again. I mean, our firewall may have stopped them, but it doesn't usually.
Okay, I can send them out. I can send them out again.
I just sent it to the mayor.
Thank you, Chief. Are there any other Mayor, do you have other questions?
I did not.
All
Does
right.
anybody have any questions or anything they want to talk about with respect?
I've
we
got
have
a
other
quick one for
agenda
Neil.
We have other items that kind of match this set of drawings, but
Yeah,
I'll ask
that's
now
supposed
if
to be.
anybody has specific questions.
I had a few, if I may, but I heard someone else speak up too. I don't know.
I think the chief was asking a question, but he's on mute.
Herb
Hey.
Forgy had a question.
Oh, okay.
like Carol had a question.
Yeah, I do. I'm getting a weird display out here from like between mute and unmute and everything else. But Neil, you mentioned slope. Is there any feeling for what degree we're looking at for maximum slope at this point?
No, Herb, I can't honestly speak to that because I would really have to defer to the manufacturers of each
Okay.
facility or each structure, and I would imagine that they'll be different depending on the manufacturer.
Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you. Carol, you have a question?
Yeah, just a few clarifying, and Jen, thank you again. Those meeting minutes were amazing. It was almost like I was there, but I wasn't, so I may have missed a few things. But I guess one of my questions is, we're seeing the 5 double deep bays currently on the conceptual, and I guess I still don't understand how the site's going to work, because it sounded like there'll be minimal truck going on to Prospect. And so it sounds like you're all talking about that anyway, so I guess that's being considered, because I just don't see how you can't turn around once you're in the lot, right, Chief?
I don't know yet, to be determined. Our smaller pieces, probably. Our tower truck, probably not. And that, if we have the ability to drive through, then that may be an option for one of the bays. But I don't see 5 bays going in one block of one, like the upper tier or the lower tier. I think you're gonna have I think you're gonna have to have 2 myself.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, I'm just trying to make sure I understand the site. I did go out there, and good luck. I do also appreciate. I'm sorry.
Sorry, Carol. If we have to, we will back in off a Prospect.
Yep.
But I only think that may be necessary for only one of the trucks.
Okay. And then I appreciate that an insulated structure is being looked at for the temporary. Thank you very much. I was just wondering if air curtains might be employed, and if so, if those could then be reused at the permanent site. So maybe
What do you mean by air curtains, Carol?
when the bays are open, there are air curtains. They get used in a lot of fire stations and also in stores to just kind of block the heated air from getting outside. And I assume those would be used in the permanent, so it could just help minimize the cost of operating it.
Yeah, hopefully, Carol, on the permanent, we're going to use radiant heat so that we're not heating the air itself. So one way or another, whether it's in-floor radiant or above head radiant, we should not have that problem.
And the heating in the temporary facility options we've been looking at are not that sophisticated, and they're all furnished by the company as a part of the rental. So we are renting the heating equipment in addition to the building, and those go back unless the decision is made to purchase.
Okay. Well, I'll leave it there then. Thank you very much.
Does anybody else want to have anything that they want to add that is on the committee before we move on? I'm just going through the.
Yes, I got a quick question for Carol, if I could.
Who's this? Who's speaking?
Herb. I'm sorry, Herb.
Herb, go ahead.
Carol, since they're talking about radiant heat, how would that fit in with you're looking into the alternate energy types of things for the building? Would that go along with the town and its provision for electricity and the potential for putting an electrical unit on the roof, a solar unit on the roof?
I guess I don't know a tremendous amount about radiant heat. It is usually used for like supplemental outdoor heat or big open spaces. I know it's usually used as one of the better options that's out there, but I don't think we would want to entertain that for a permanent structure because we can do better. So the fact that it comes with the package and goes back with the package might be might be the best way to deal with it.
Thank you.
And honestly, with fire stations, because the water use is so heavy, it's actually solar hot water that I've found is a really great option to deal with the heavy water usage. So that's what I've been looking into so far.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Thank you. If there's no other questions, I had a part B to the first agenda item. And it was to talk about what the city needs to do to prepare the site for full approval. I don't know, Mayor, this might be more geared towards your office. I'm not sure, but I wanted to see if a list could be put together on what are the steps to, get to a point where, yes, this is the location, it's been approved. I know there needs to be public meetings, but I'm not too sure what the timeline is and what the steps are that have to get us to the point where we know this is the site, outside of the architecturals,
Okay, I don't at the moment believe there needs to be any public meeting. It's a city-owned piece of property. We need it. I don't think there's a need for it. But I'll certainly look into that and give that consideration. It's similar across the board. We do need to notify permit holders. We need to attempt to make accommodations for the permit holders to the extent we can, like moving them into the garage, et cetera, et cetera. I'm just going off the top of my head, so we can attempt to put together a list for you. But I think, that property is in the city's control. We will probably notify, there is a plan to notify the Parking and Traffic Commission to let them know of our plans to do this and seek whatever advice they might want to give on that. And right now, that is the extent. I just need to know when we're going to need it based on the timeline. And right now, I can tell from the timeline, but that could possibly change over time. So at some point here, we will attempt to meet with the neighbors. So in that sense, there may be a public meeting, so to speak, on just how the neighbors are being handled. Right now, we're planning to keep those resident permits only. And finding parking for people elsewhere.
Okay, great. On all these items, we can move together in conjunction with the drawings and the layout and the design. I mean, these things are things that can start, I think, now, correct?
That's not a question for me. That's Neil or Dennis.
I mean, if we're gonna have a public meeting and we're gonna have to, I mean, we should, I'm trying to just figure out what the timeline of that is. We should probably have a conceptual set of drawings that are gonna be the drawings that we're gonna use. I mean, that's what I'm guessing in my mind. But Neil, do you have any take on that?
Yeah, David, this is Dennis. You definitely want that because any meeting you're going to have, people are going to first ask, what does it look like?
Yeah. Right.
If we're going to pay for it, what are we getting for what we're paying for? So yeah, you have to have some visuals.
Yeah.
So when do you think the conceptual drawings can be started? Once we get the list from the chief on what the requirements are, is that when the clock starts ticking on the conceptual drawings?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. So we should be getting info this week from DPW, and we'll take a look at that. Obviously, as soon as we get it, be talking to the chief next week, and then immediately starting on some kind of conceptuals.
Okay. And what do you think, like phase one of conceptuals that we could look at will take? How long do you think that will take?
About a week or two, no more.
Okay. Okay, great. All right. Does anyone on the committee have any questions or follow up with respect to the question that I asked as far as what the city has to put together so we can move forward?
Yeah, David, let me just say this. I misunderstood what you meant by a public meeting. I was thinking the kinds of public meetings you and I know about where, you know, permits are attached to those meetings.
Yeah.
And sometimes votes can be swayed by that. But no, we would certainly have a information only type of public meeting where we let the public know once we have more accurate and information. So it's important to know when we get close to that date so we can schedule something, because it will not be an in-person meeting. It will be some sort of public Zoom, you know what I'm talking, web
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah, web meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think it's right. We have to have the drawings before we could do that.
Yeah.
So
And you know, those pictures, real live pictures for people who don't deal with drawings are very helpful. They won't be ours, but the city of Lexington and so forth. So we'll keep those in mind.
okay, great. Does anybody else in the committee have anything they want to talk about with respect to the question on what it's going to take to, you know, bring it to have it move forward, and what it's going to take the city to move it forward?
Okay.
Okay, I don't see anybody's hand up, and I'm scrolling through.
This is Jen. I'm just
Oh, hi,
gonna,
Jen.
this is gonna sound a little bit gratuitous, but like, you know, when I look at the conceptual phasing and I think, you know, where can we find a little more time, you know, like give ourselves, speed things up and give ourselves the ability to really do this in the time frame that's already a little bit scary. I would just love us to, you know, Dave, your questions were the right questions, but I didn't hear like dates, you know. So I think what I'm just wondering is, can we put a date on when the conceptual drawings are going to be done? You know, it sounds like we kind of know enough about what the variables are at this point, and that someone could hopefully with some confidence say like October 15th, we'll have some conceptual drawings. Like, I don't want to push on and be unrealistic, but you know, the way I think about things like this, when you have a project that has, you know, 100 or 1,000 variables, is you have to like moneyball the thing. You have to like, you know, nail everything a little bit. And I think if we think of every single step in this as taking a week, even if it really shouldn't take a week, then the processes that take 1 to 2 weeks, really like making drawings, which does take some time, are kind of pinched. So that's my 2 cents on timing.
Dennis, do you think we'd be in a good shape for our next temporary meeting?
I'm sorry, what was
Can
that?
you repeat that again, Chief?
Yeah, do you think we would be able to have at least the first part of this that we talked about for our next temporary meeting, which is in 2 weeks?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna sit down with Kate and Adam. We're gonna look at our resources and do just what Jennifer asked for. We'll put together a schedule. And you know, each item, you know, for example, the programming, the drawings, the DPW, you know, we'll assign a date, you know, and the whole thing's going to be the start date from DPW, but we will assume that start date, you know, this week sometime, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, great. Thank you for that input, Jen. Appreciate it. I think dates are very important. Keeps us on track. Definitely. Okay. No questions with respect to that. The next item I had on the agenda was, I know that Chief Strahan gave us a great presentation last time, and we got to leave and digest what he had shown us, and I wanted to give folks a chance to be able to comment on what they saw. If anything came up, you had any other questions, or if the chief had anything to add to the presentation that he gave us. But I wanted to open it up to if anybody had any comments or suggestions after they saw the slideshow that the chief presented to us.
And David, if I could for a half a second, there are 2 items that I neglected to talk about when I did the presentation. The first one is emergency generator power. It has to be taken into consideration. And the other part that I neglected to talk about was some type of comms erection, communications erection of a tower or something small. So there are two items that we need to address within that. I forgot to mention that, so I wanted to mention that now.
Seems like two pretty important items.
Yep, that's why I've got good firefighters. They remind me when I miss something.
Well, that's great. Well, that's why I put it on the agenda, because it gave a chance for the subcommittee to digest what you had shown us, and you came up with a couple other things, so that's good. Do any of the committee members have any comments or anything that they noticed when we went through the slideshow? I thought it was an excellent slideshow, and I would really encourage that slideshow be presented to the counselors. Because
It has been mailed to the counselors.
excellent, because you are right. It's just not a building that you're housed in. It's way more than that, a garage. So
I can't say that they looked at it, but and there's counselors on here, so maybe they could chime in. But yeah, I mean, eventually these things, some of them shortly, we'll put the minutes on on the website, and we'll put the any of those kinds of things that are ready to be put on the website. We will put them on the website
great. Thank you, Mayor.
for the public as well. So.
Thank you.
Mhm.
So no other questions or comments with respect to the slideshow? I don't see anybody raising their hands. Okay. Thank you. The next item I had was talking a little bit about the program between the Pacheco Ross and the chief. And if we could, did we nail down a timeline that's going to happen within a week? I don't want to put pressure on folks, but Chief, what is your take on that? Is it something that we could get wrapped up so we can move into drawings within a week?
So I'll defer to Dennis on this, but I think we're going to plan on early next week to start that and hopefully be able to report back at our next meeting.
Yep, that's.
Okay, so the goal is to have it complete by next meeting.
Yeah, the most of the work is already done and available on the city webpage. If you go to the mayor's homepage within the city, on the right-hand side, there's a little link that gives you to public safety building. All the previous studies are available for anybody that wants to take a look at. So if there's a lot of information on that. So,
Okay.
feel free.
Some of it almost 10 years old.
Yeah.
However.
Yeah, you're right, Mayor. The first study was actually 1994. That's on there.
Oh, well, that's even more than 10. I can count.
But this program is specifically for what your needs are in the temporary fire station.
Yeah, and that can be found. The original programming was done in the 2012 programming, which is available on the city's webpage if anybody wants to take a look at it.
Okay, great.
It has changed a little bit. Some of the trucks have changed. Some of our needs have changed a little bit, but not a lot. It's pretty accurate.
Okay. Neil, will you be able to put a presentation together for our next meeting on that, along with the document that I think is going to be put together on the programming? I don't think.
I'm sure that Dennis and I can put together a summary of the areas that we cover during the program review. And then depending on how much progress we can make on schematic floor plans or whatever you want to call it, we certainly will present whatever work product is ready.
Correct. We'll have a program for sure, David. And like Neil says, with whatever information we have, as far as we can get those plans progressed, we will.
So the plans that you'll show us on next meeting will be the start of the plans. I mean, obviously they're not going to be the full conceptual drawing package, correct?
I would assume they would not be there yet, correct?
Okay. And maybe next time we meet, we could talk about a timeline and when we think the full package, gathering all this information, we could talk about a date for when we could expect to see maybe the full package, okay?
Yep.
Okay, great.
Can I ask a question, please?
Yes.
This is Carol.
That's you?
Chief Strand, you said the information was on the city's website. So I'm on the fire department's webpage, and I went under the Public Safety Commission, and it comes up blank, and I don't see what
Yeah,
link
so
it would. Yeah, go ahead.
There's a roundabout way to get to that, and I apologize for that. But go into the departments under the mayor's office.
Yep.
Go into the right-hand side where it says additional pages. Scroll down to the third from the bottom, and it says Public Safety Building Project.
Ah,
You
I
click
just
on
shared
that,
the link to that in the chat.
and there is. a-
yep. There it is. Thank
know-
you.
Did somebody say they put the link in the chat?
Yes, I just did.
Awesome, thank you.
Thanks, Adam.
There is a
Not a
ton,
problem.
there is a ton of information on that page.
There is. Thank you.
All right, great. The next agenda item was talking about construction timeline. We've seen the timeline earlier in our first meeting. We saw a timeline in the presentation, Neil, that you just gave. I would like, my goal is not to rush it, but to see if we could do a little bit better. But we're really not going to know that, I think, until we start seeing drawings and we start seeing the whole plan put together. But I did have construction timeline on my agenda if anybody wanted to speak to that.
Beyond, are you asking for more detailed information or more assured information beyond what's on that timeline of all the steps?
Well,
'Cause
yeah,
that construction timeline is on there, but it's in months only.
yeah, I'd like to, what I would like to see is it improved and not broken up in months, but maybe in weeks, like Jen had mentioned, but I'm not too sure we're there yet, but it's just a talking line that I wanted to make is I'd like to start seeing it maybe in weeks as opposed to months. And so I wanted to get other people's input on what they feel, and also, of course, Neil's input on that too.
Dave, if I may, I think we'll be able to certainly drill it down into weeks as the design progresses, and as we get closer to having a completed set of documents, we can start talking about when ads may appear in the central register, what the statutory requirements are for the length or duration of bids, whether or not sub-bid packages will be involved. All of that information will become available, but it's just too early to speculate with any degree of certainty what that may be.
Okay. Okay. Is there any thing like, I mean, I'm not fully up on it, but I know that there's the state already has, like, pre-bid pricing for items and that type of thing. Will that help out in increase the timeline? I mean, I know some things have to go out for bid and some things don't because there's already pre-approved pricing through the state. Does that apply to any of this project?
There may be opportunities, Dave, to get or solicit some labor through state bid contracts. However, items like site work is not able to be procured through state contract. So if we wanted to hire a carpenter to build some railings or to build some walls, those services are certainly available under the state bid procurement process with previously vetted vendors. However, it's not always the best value for the city to pursue options outside of a competitive bid environment. But again, procurement, all of those decisions will be made once we have a better handle on what exactly it is we're trying to build.
Okay.
Could I
Great.
comment? Could I
Yes,
comment, David?
absolutely. Yes,
Yeah.
Mayor.
I just want to make sure that folks on the call and on the committee understand that that the price of the actual apparatus bay and those things is big enough that it does have to go out for an RFQ. You may find in your searches several companies, but we don't have the opportunity to pick one per se unless they happen to respond to the RFP, RFQ process. So that is a lengthy, as I mentioned earlier, that's a minimum month-long, maybe plus a couple of weeks process. So whenever we get to that point, and I would hope the sooner we can, the better we will be in terms of timing for that reason. But people don't have to understand that there is a fairly lengthy process. It does involve interviewing hello, people who responded, the responders. So.
Great, thank you, Mayor, for that information, just so we could all understand that timeline. I appreciate it. Does anybody have any questions or comments about construction timeline other than what Neil and the mayor have given us as far as information? I don't see anybody raising I'm sorry, I'm scrolling through my iPad here. I can't have everybody up on the full screen, so.
All right, I'll ask a question. I'm moving my hand the wrong direction.
I can see you.
Okay. I was like this and it's going, anyway. I just, based again on the minutes, it looks like construction on the temporary location will start in spring and relocation will happen in the summer of 2021. And that the permanent station will be completed, it says, for the better part of 2 years. So are we looking at 2022, 2023 on that?
Yes, that's the preliminary plan right now. The permanent station will require, and Dennis, you can chime in, roughly 6 to 8 months to prepare bid documents. Once we go out to bid, the bidding process for a project of that size, I would guess, would be anywhere between 6 and 7 weeks. Once we get the proposals, there's an exchange of contracts and bonds, which typically takes, another 2 weeks. And then you're looking at probably 16 to 18 months of construction, depending on what our overall project looks like. And I think if you run all those dates out, we've given it to the committee previously, it gets you into the third quarter, late summer anyway, of 2023.
Okay.
That sounds right, Neil, I agree.
Thank you.
Okay, any other questions? All right, great. The next item I had was to talk about additional worker plans the committee members could start taking a look at. Chief, maybe this might be geared more towards you. You went through a lot of stuff on your slideshow, and there were things like housing, that very important historical piece of equipment that we have, and other things. So I'm wondering, is there anything outside that you could think of outside of what you had mentioned to us that maybe isn't so connected to like fire station equipment and that type of thing that we can start taking a look at? Anything that comes across your mind, or with respect to that type of thing?
Yeah, not a lot more than what we talked about. Like I said, we do have stuff that is going to need to be put into storage until it can be put out properly at the permanent station. I will say that we do have some caveats that we have to follow about the existing station. And so there are a few items that we have to maintain and keep with us and make sure that they're in good working order. Or preserved, I should say. They are the bell tower and cupola has to be maintained. So that has to be given consideration when demolishing. And then we have to obviously find a place that we can, I would think, wrap it and place it someplace until it's ready to go to the new fire station. The cornerstone at the station needs to be preserved. including the time capsule that's behind it. At least 2 of the poles have to be taken and maintained and preserved until it gets put in the new firehouse. And the last that's required, although it's going to be very difficult, I think, is the mural that's on the front of the firehouse.
Mm,
They would like that to be saved if at all possible. I think that is going to have to be looked at as being redone, completely redone by a local artist when we have the new fire station. So that's information that we'll have to talk about with the new firehouse. But those are the items that we are required to give consideration and take with us.
But they will need to be stored from the point at which the fire station comes down and the fire station is built.
That is correct.
So that's something that eventually one or the other of the committees or someone needs to take point on. I'm thinking that some of that stuff can be done, stored with the historical commission, but I don't know. I don't know that they have that much storage room for everything. And certainly, who knows about bell tower, cupola, poles, and et cetera. So those are odd items to have to try to find safe storage for. So we'll have to all put our thinking caps on, I think, for that.
Yeah.
I don't know, Chief, have you contacted the historical commission yet to discuss any of it with them?
Mayor, I have not had an opportunity to.
Is there somebody on the committee that could help you with that, Chief, contacting them and, maybe I think these 4 items should probably be part of the temporary project, seeing that the plans have to be made for them to be come down and stored before they could do the demo. That's my take on it, that they should be part of this committee. But the timing's got to be right, obviously. But if there's things that other committee members could help you out with, you're a pretty busy guy, right?
Yeah, we have stuff that's stored off site right now. One that comes to mind is our bell. Paul Revere bell is nicely housed at GCC in a display case in the main entrance at GCC, which has always been the intent that when we build the new firehouse, it will come back. It's a beautiful restored bell, but there are a bunch of items that are going to have to be inventoried, and the Historical Society has said, at least several years ago, said that they wanted to be a part of that process to help us maintain the history that we have in this building. If anybody hasn't seen, we have a tremendous amount of artifacts in this building that we need to preserve and keep for future posterity.
Well, there's other members on the committee here that can help out, and they're willing to. So, those are things that are important, and you probably have the most details. So, when and if you want their help, please ask for it.
David Herforgy.
Yes, hi. Speak.
I would be happy to work with the chief as a go-between with the Historical Society and the chief and the department to try to get this stuff taken care of.
I would be happy to take any help that's being offered.
Right.
Okay, I'll get with you, chief, as soon as we can.
Maybe that's something I can throw Eddie under the bus too, to give a. he knows exactly as well as you do, Deputy, that what really needs to be given a lot of consideration.
I'd love to work with that on that if he's interested at all. I think it'd be great.
Sorry,
It could be the
I'm
tale
going
of 2
under the
deputies.
Hey, well,
Thanks, Bob.
well,
Everybody else
thank you
too.
for that. Appreciate you volunteering for that. That would be great. I think things like that will go a long way, and we can get some of these things taken off the chief's plate. So thank you. All right. The next item was new items. Does anybody have any new items that they can think of that we should be bringing to each other next meeting, or in front of the city? Can anybody think of items that they have?
I just want to, I make sure that you're going to be prepared to report on Thursday at the full committee meeting on
Yes.
these last two meetings.
I will be prepared.
Okay,
We have a great note taker, so I'm definitely going to be prepared. All right. Anyone else with new items?
Hmm.
All
Excellent.
right. Go ahead. Was that you, Jen? Nope. Was somebody asking or speaking?
Hmm.
All right. Well, I don't have anything else, and it's 5:08. So if there's nothing else, I will ask for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second, anybody?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 All right. Well,